Middle East, and joining us now is well-known actor Elnaaz Norouzi. Elnaaz, of course, hails from Iran. Elnaaz, welcome. Thank you for being with us today on Newsx.
Hi, thank you so much.
Let me begin by asking you first about, what your initial response was to this strike. It had been building up for a while. There had been tensions there, talks which weren't really making any headway. And then finally we saw action. The US and Israel struck in a joint operation. Khamenei was eliminated in that strike, and many other senior leaders of the Iran and IRGC leadership. What was your first reaction when you heard of that strike and the decisive action?
My first reaction, and that of many other Iranians, which is more than 80% of the people inside of Iran, was relief and happiness, because that's what the Iranian people have been begging President Trump to do since January 2026, when on the 8th and 9th, more than 50,000 people died by the hands of this regime. And because for 47 years, the Iranian people have been trying to free themselves from this regime, but it has just been impossible because they are unarmed and the regime is armed, and the regime has no problem with killing people. We have lost so many lives in these 47 years, and the Iranians have tried over and over again, and this is just the first time that you are hearing about it. I know we spoke about all of this in 2022 when Mahsa Amini happened. Then as well, people wanted the morality police gone, people wanted a regime change, but it just keeps getting worse day by day. And the Iranians have been chanting for the new leader all over the world, which is Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi. They have been writing graffitis on the walls, "Trump, please help us." The Iranians have been waiting for this foreign intervention because they have realized that there has been no other way in 47 years to get rid of this regime. So most of the Iranians were very happy and very, very relieved.
Yes, but what we've seen happen next, Elnaaz, has been a defiance by Iran. They are not acknowledging, obviously, what the people want, as you're saying, on ground, who are protesting. They have said that this regime is not going anywhere. And what we've seen is Mojtaba Khamenei, who is, of course, the son of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who now is dead. His son has been made now the new supreme leader. How do you view this decision by the Supreme Council?
This is just something that we knew was going to happen, and this is something that has been happening all this while. And that's what we're saying. The Iranians do not have a vote. The Iranians cannot choose who is their next leader. The Iranians don't have a voice. So what is there to say about it? That's exactly what we've been trying to tell the world, that anything that happens is a decision by this occupying regime, never decided by the people of Iran, because they know very well that if the people of Iran could choose their leaders, they would not choose them.
Yes. What made you celebrate, and many others also celebrate, the removal of Khamenei through this strike, the death of a dictator, as you've called him, in this strike? What made you celebrate that? What made you happy at this action by the US and Israel?
For 47 years, there have been women raped, there have been men hanged, there have been children dying at the hands of this regime. It is not just the 50,000 that died in January of this year. It is not more than the 200 executions that happened just this February. 47 years is a long time, and there are multiple thousands of lives being lost throughout these years at the hands of this person. I understand that a lot of people look at him as a religious leader because they have not lived under his regime. They have not lived in Iran, where he is executing people, where he is allowed child marriage, where he explicitly asks for virgin detainees to be raped so that once they're executed, they don't go into heaven. These are things that we have lived with. These are things that Iranians who are in Iran know very well. This is why the Iranians are celebrating. And other people who have not lived with this man under his regime do not know. This regime has done a fabulous job at deceiving people.
But yet there are those who mourn him. Yet there are those who come out onto the streets, even in India, where you and I live right now. We've seen, politicians, actors, people on the streets in Jammu Kashmir, in Ladakh, in Uttar Pradesh and Mumbai and other parts of the country, come out onto the streets to mourn him, to protest the US-Israel action. What do you make of that?
Those are first people who are uninformed about him, people who just see him as a religious leader. They do not see him as the person that he was, because the regime never allowed voices to get out of Iran. They always oppressed the voices. If we have so many political prisoners in Iran, everybody who has spoken out against the regime has been either killed or put into prison. So there's no way you can hear their voices, right? And then the other half, we know very well that the regime has a lot of funds from all of the oil and the resources that the country has. They take all of these funds and they pay for protests. Not only the protests that you see, there are protests in America that are completely funded by this regime, pro-regime. And this is not something I am saying. You can go and Google that. There's proof of it. The regime funds. A regime who can fund terrorist organizations like Hezbollah, Houthis, Hamas, they can spare a little bit money for pro-regime protests as well. So the ones that are going are the ones that are uninformed and the ones that don't know what this regime has done, and the rest are definitely funded.
Yes. Now, the US and Israel, of course, are now saying that, they're hoping that the Iranian people, seize the day and act now and go for a regime change. Will that happen? What do you see happening next, Elnaaz? Also, or do you hope that, the US goes in for boots on the ground, which right now we don't know if they will, to effect a regime change in Iran?
What is necessary is the fact that this entire regime should be eliminated, because only then are the Iranian people safe to go on the roads. Because whenever they protest, we have seen there is a crackdown. There have been videos coming out from yesterday outside of Iran where people are chanting out of their windows and they are shooting at the people from outside. So going out right now is out of question. But yes, what we do need is military help. We do need armed forces inside of the country to overthrow this regime once and for all. People are not going to be able to do this empty-handed. We can't be stupid about it. We can't ask the people to just go out without ammunition, because we know very well they're being shot down.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Just tell us about how it was for you growing up in Iran, your childhood. How was it there? And what made you and your family leave?
Well, the situation in Iran made our family leave, just like how 5 million other families, 5 million other people have left. America is full of Iranians, Canada is full of Iranians, Australia is full of Iranians, Europe is full of Iranians, because they couldn't live peacefully in their own country. So we had to leave because my parents wanted a better future for me. So we left for Germany, we migrated, and life in Iran was always restrictive. There was always oppression. As a 6-year-old, when I went to school, I had to always chant death to America, death to Israel, not even knowing why I'm doing that, right? People of Iran do not want to do that anymore. The people of Iran have had great relationships with America and Israel forever and ever. This goes back to history. They do not want to be enemies with the whole world. They do not want a regime that funds terrorist groups. The people of Iran do not want this regime. And when I say that, I'm talking about the majority, because I'm going to tell you something. Hitler had supporters too. And Hitler was a dictator. He killed million supporters of this regime. Nobody has 100% votes, and nobody is 100% against something. There
Yes.
will be people who support this regime,
Yes.
but how does voting happen in other countries? You
Yes.
see who the majority wants and you go with that.
Yes.
And the majority of Iranians do not want this regime.
Okay. But they're not listening to the majority of the Iranians, is what you're saying. Now, as far as you're concerned, do you hope to go back to Iran at some point? Do you hope to go back one day soon?
Of course, everybody does. There are people who are already celebrating and are too excited, and they're like, oh, we're going to go to Tehran for Persian New Year. Persian New Year is just around the corner. 21st of March is the new year for Iranians, and people are so excited that by that time Iran is going to be free. I do know that it's going to take longer. I do know that it's not an easy battle to fight, and that it will take probably a lot of lives, but that's what we've been paying for all of these years. We've been paying with lives.
Yes.
We've been paying with lives, and everything that is happening is the fault of this regime, because we have been telling them for 47 years that we do not want you. But they have been staying with force. They have been staying with rape. They have been staying with executions. They have been staying with shooting at people.
And do you
That's
believe
the
they
only
were?
way they
Do you
can-
believe they were building a nuclear weapon as the US believes?
Oh, yes, 100% they were. Oh, yes. Of course they were building a nuclear weapon. They have been chanting death to America, death to Israel since 47 years. And their entire mission has been and will always be death to America and death to Israel. That is why they were building the nuclear weapon.
Okay.
Of course,
Yes.
they were
And-
going to do it.
and which
And let
is-
me tell you something.
Yes.
This is dangerous for the whole world, and not only for America and Israel. The people around the world should be thankful to what America and Israel are doing, because these people have no idea what this regime is capable of. Only the Iranians know what this regime is capable of.
Okay.
The other people have no idea.
Yes, and you fear for your life, Elnaaz. I've read you've said that, which is why you haven't been there to Iran. Your
fear
family
my
was
life.
worried as
No.
well. Your family was worried for you when you were outspoken against them.
Of course, families are worried when you speak against terrorists, because they are unpredictable and they can do anything to you. But I don't fear for my life. I just know that my life is more valuable than risking it and going back to a country where I know that when you speak against them, this is what they do to you. Iranians inside of Iran are not allowed to speak against them. And Iranians outside of Iran for many, many years who have been speaking against them have disappeared. So
Okay.
yes, it is possible.
Okay,
But
My
that's
final
not going to stop me from talking for my people and bringing their voices out, because their voices are clearly being suppressed.
Yes. No, you're doing the job very responsibly. You are an influencer, you are an actor, so you have a voice, you have a very powerful voice, and you're obviously doing that to speak up for the cause that you believe in. My final question to you, you're on a big platform today via us. What message would you want to give to the Indian government? What message would you want to give to the US President and the Israel Prime Minister?
To the Indian government, honestly, I am looking at this from a lens of somebody who is an Indian resident right now, okay? And from somebody who has lived under oppression and lived under a dictatorship, I can differentiate what it means to live in a country where you have no voice, when you have no rights, where you have no life, where you have no work. And I can differentiate between that. And I see the kind of life that I have in India right now. And I see how the government really cares about the people that live here. The way this government in India has amazing relationships with all of the countries around them, you don't see that with Iran. And that puts the lives of the people in that country in jeopardy. But what the government in India has done, they have made sure that they're good with everybody around, because that brings safety to the country. That makes the country a power in the world. And I am very, very proud and happy to live in a country like this right now. And I wish that my country was like this. I wish that our leaders would have cared for our people and made sure that they have the best relationships with all of the countries around them. But instead, they funded terrorism and they made everybody around us hate us. So that is my message to the government of India. Thank you for caring for your residents, because that's number one. Of course, I do not agree with a lot of their foreign policies that are against what we need in Iran, but that doesn't matter. First, your people come, and that is important. And it's the same for the Israelis and the Americans. Trump really cares about America. When a country is chanting death to his country for so many years, he went for it, and he's not going to put the lives of his people in jeopardy. And this is what every country should be doing.
Okay. Well, Elnaaz Norouzi, thank you very much for joining us on Newsx and sharing your opinions on the current conflict. And we do hope that you will be able to go back to your home country of Iran, hopefully sooner rather than later. Thank you.